Could someone say that what Adolf Hitler did was objectively wrong? Well, it just depends on whether or not they have an objective standard to compare that to. Someone could say that, well, from Hitler's perspective, he was right, but from our perspective as American and Allied forces, he was wrong. How does that stand up when you basically scale that to a wide range of issues in the world today? Thank you for watching the Professor's Podcast today, and we are coming to you from a little bit of a different setting, and going to be a pretty quick video for you this morning as there's a lot going on. Had a busy weekend of ministry with my church, as well as some other work-related things that are going to be going on this afternoon. So wanted to talk quickly to you about Christian worldview and the idea of absolute moral truth. So for the Christian worldview, absolute moral truth, very, very vital, a critical component, and two aspects that I wanted to just highlight and bring out. First of all, the idea of objective standards for truth and morality. There has to be an objective standard in order for us to say that anything is right or wrong. For example, there is the idea of looking back in history and passing judgment on someone for what they've done. For example, Adolf Hitler, this is a classic example. Could someone say that what Adolf Hitler did was objectively wrong? Well, it just depends on whether or not they have an objective standard to compare that to. Someone could say that, well, from Hitler's perspective, he was right, but from our perspective as American and Allied forces, he was wrong. How does that stand up when you basically scale that to a wide range of issues in the world today? Is this right or is this wrong? It depends on your perspective. Well, then that means that there really is no such thing as right or wrong. There's only your opinion. And so in order for there to be absolute morality, that is absolute right or wrong, there has to be an objective standard. That is, there's something outside of myself, something outside of yourself that is pointing us and telling us what it is that is right and what it is that's wrong. The second aspect of the Christian worldview and absolute moral truth is that the standard, that objective standard for what is right and what is wrong, is God and his revelation in Scripture. Now, the reason that it is important that we tie this objective standard to God's revelation of himself in Scripture is because if you say, well, the objective standard is God, then we might argue and say, which God? Are we talking about the God of the Hindus, Brahman? Are we talking about the God of Islam, Allah? Okay, or any other kind of Christian Science or Jehovah's Witness, anything like that? No, it is the objective standard of God as revealed in the Scripture, and pointing back to the videos that we've done previous about, number one, the 6 components of a Christian worldview. Then we talk about the existence of God, as then also how it is that Christians can know anything. Revelation is an important aspect and component, obviously, to this objective standard. And it has to be something that is beyond ourselves and objective. And so it is God as revealed in the Scriptures. Thou shalt not kill is an objective standard in the Scriptures that goes beyond something that is within ourselves, that tells us that murder is wrong. And thou shalt have no other gods before me, another one of the 10 commandments that tells us that there is one God, and therefore we should not have anything above or in place of him. But notice that that standard is outside of ourselves. And so the objective standard, number one, is necessary. Absolute moral truth, right and wrong for all people at all times in every culture cannot be determined by a subjective sense. And then number two, that for the Christian worldview especially, that objective reality, that objective standard is God as he is revealed in the scriptures. And so when we look to the Bible, it gives us information about who God is and what God wills or wants. And then that guides us into what it is that is right and what is wrong. Otherwise, any other kind of moral judgment, this is right, this is wrong, what's it based on? It's based on my culture, it's based on how I feel at the moment, it's based on how I was raised, it is based on consensus or democracy, the masses, the opinion of the masses. All that stuff is subjective, it's changeable, it's not absolute. That is constant, that is the same. And so absolute moral truth, there is a definitive right and there is a definitive wrong, and that depends on an objective standard, which is God as he is revealed in the scriptures. And so a Christian worldview provides the greatest stability for society when it comes to determining what is right and what is wrong. So be encouraged. Thank you for watching today. Again, a little bit of a different kind of video coming to you from the Professor's Podcast, and hope you'll continue to tune in. Encourage you to like this video, comment with any questions or encouragements, and then subscribe to the channel to help further more content just like this.